also I realized I like to have this stuff off as well. So let me start that over. All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. January 21st, 2018. This is the Breakdown Daily Recap. I am Breaky CPK, of course, and we definitely got plenty to go over once again. So without further ado, let's look to get right into it here. Of course, the Galaxy Battles Tournament officially wrapping up early this morning, late last night, wherever you may be in the Philippines there. And we do have our champion. In case you haven't heard yet, VGJ Thunder out of China. They are the ones that ultimately win the whole event, and they continue a bit of a hot streak that they've been having recently here in the Chinese competitive Dota 2 scene especially. Like I said, going into this, they were a team to definitely look out for. Personally, in the very beginning, I predicted maybe a TNC EG finals. TNC, bit of a flop, though, unfortunately for them, getting 2-0'd initially by Team Spirit in the quarterfinals, and then eventually knocked out by OG as well in the losers bracket, which again being best of one all the way through. Unfortunate itself with the format. Never really like to see a best of one all the way through a losers bracket, but again with this event and everything that happened, all the late minute changes, understandable. That's how they decided to go with it. But going back to the bigger picture, VGJ Thunder initially lost to Evil Geniuses 2-0, of course, in the winter finals. That knocked them down. They had to defeat then Team Spirit, who actually defeated OG earlier on in the night in their series 1-0. They had to defeat Team Spirit. They did so, getting them to the grand finals, and they 3-0'd Evil Geniuses in the grand finals. There was an insane game number 2 that took place that lasted 72 minutes long. You see hero kill wise, obviously very, very close. In fact, EG 31-30 there in hero kills. But ultimately, a victory for VGJ Thunder behind guess who? Terrorblade. This hero, man, I swear, this hero is winning a lot lately, specifically in the Galaxy Battles event. I cast the first night on the secondary stream, of course, a couple of those series there, and I believe even VGJ Thunder ran it once for them, but we saw it a couple of times, both victories there. There's other qualifiers that have been taking place. I think it's safe to say Terrorblade is right now in the meta hero. At this point. Now, I will say Evil Geniuses did also run it in Game 3 themselves in a losing effort, and apparently Arteezy's been trying out this whole new Battle Fury style build. It did work initially in the winter bracket finals. In the grand finals, though, it did come up short, and again, 3-0 when it's all said and done for VGJ Thunder. As far as the event as a whole, guys, overall, I do think Galaxy Battles was a decent tournament. Now, this does bring up a couple of points. One of the, not to be too negative here, but one of the unfortunate things during the event was there was a bit of an observation issue. And kind of going off of that, I know I've talked about this in the past in the previous podcasts that I've had, but to reiterate it here, this is another example where organizations really need to make a point to hire professional observers for their events. They literally are the eyes of the viewers. They literally are that. So if your observer has issues, if they're not really that experienced, in this case, a lot of the time, there was so many issues going on from the observer. He was clearly dragging the screen, which made it very choppy in terms of trying to follow action. He then there was even a point where they just literally left it on direct to camera the whole match, and they just said, you know what, computer take over, which is never a good thing. It still amazes me to this day that organizations are not putting stress or not putting the attention and the necessity of, if you're going to go through the effort of putting on such a big event and hiring talent, the casters and everything, and the production, you better be hiring and making sure you're getting experienced observers and paying them well to do so. Because again, in my opinion, there's obviously a couple of really important things to make sure that people are able to enjoy an event. One of those being the casters, another one being the audio, making sure that's good, and then the third one being the visual, being the observation. Frankly, if you were to take away two of the other things, the only one that would work on its own is the observation, because as long as the picture's there, as long as there's something to watch that's done well, then people can at least see what's going on. Of course, it goes without saying. But so if you happen to be having to drop out the casters or whatever, or you have lesser tier casters, not as experienced themselves, still the event can be enjoyable because at least the games themselves and the observation of it will be seen on screen. It just all goes back to please. I sent out a tweet yesterday. So many people agreed, and I don't think it's just crazy to say, but need to make sure that you have good observers for these events. Now, I know in the case of Galaxy Battles, a lot of these changes happened last minute. Initially, they were going to have some of that because of the major status. A lot of the talent did pull out after Valve decided to rescind the major status. So, not to put the full blame here on Galaxy Battles, but this is the second time now that comes to mind. I forget what the first event was earlier on the circuit. I want to say it was Dota Pit, but I'm not 100% sure, honestly. But there was a clearly very inexperienced observer, and it showed. It showed during the event. So now that leads me into there was a really interesting discussion that was brought up on the event as a whole, and how Kips, actually, who currently is the coach for Vega Squadron, she essentially made a tweet that although the Galaxy Battles event, it was pulled off and overall things went okay, it does show that, almost like thank God they didn't get the major status. Because if this is the show that they put on with what ended up being a not even Dota 2 circuit sanctioned event, then what would have happened if they had 16 teams instead of 8? And, the expectations were even that much higher. Would it have really been that good, or would have flopped it really? Because if the same production and quality everything happened for this event that it did for the 16-team major, it would have been considered an absolute flop for sure. But because that got rescinded, I think in some ways that was almost a helpful thing for the Galaxy Battle for Fallout Gaming and the organization, because again, they were setting up for it to be quite the disaster, frankly, of an event. Now, there has been some reaction to that, suggesting that it's not really fair to say that because of the changes. It did cause, I mentioned the casters, pulling out, some of the talent. I'm sure production also, then things happened there with them pulling out, etc. So maybe that did cause some of these issues as well. We really will never know the full story, I don't think. But just knowing their history too, and this wasn't like a surprise. It's not like it caught people off guard, like, oh, we expected this to be great, because again, frankly, knowing what they did with their first Galaxy Battle event and knowing with the history of Fallout Gaming, there was a lot of not good expectations, especially when it was a major, let alone when that got rescinded in the first place. So, not to say, again, it all goes back to, I do think, considering they did do a decent job, it ended up being an okay event. They pulled it through. The matches they had some very entertaining matches throughout. And it sounds like that the talent as well as the players themselves all enjoyed it. They've been sending out tweets suggesting that they were taken care of very well, and that is great. Now, if Galaxy Battles and Fallout Gaming is to host another event in next Dota 2 circuit, trying to work with Valve again, I do hope that part of me hopes that they try to go for the minor instead, because I do feel like to do a major, ideally you need to have some stable previous experience in the scene before you're reaching that high. But we'll see. We'll see how that eventually goes. Anyways, there you go. That's the Galaxy Battles event officially over. Again, VGJ Thunder do take it over Evil Geniuses. 3-0 right there. We also got to see, again, this event really showcased kind of the newer lineup of Evil Geniuses and what they were running with Sumail taking over more of this off-lane role. You had Arteezy, of course, still playing the safe lane, but Fear taking over then kind of the mid role. Getting to the finals, especially in the manner that they did. They were undefeated going into the grand finals. Again, clearly performed pretty well there. But then, had the hiccup in the grand finals. I'm not going to lie, I did not get the chance to watch it. It was way early in the morning. I was sleeping at that point. I do plan to go back and watch it a little bit, though. Maybe have some more insight on tomorrow's daily recap as a result. But, getting 3-0, it is a very solid team in VGJ Thunder, though. And so, as I said going into this event, really, I wasn't going to take too much from it just because of what this event was ultimately like and how everything went down. But Evil Geniuses, I know there's a lot of people suggesting this should have been their tournament to take because of everything that happened. I did not feel that way at all. TNC, VGJ Thunder, Team Spirit, OG, these are all very, very solid teams, even with the standing situation of OG. It does not surprise me that Evil Geniuses did not win the whole thing at all. The fact that they got to the grand finals out of the winners was, I think that alone is good no matter what happened in the grand finals. Okay, moving on. There was a couple of other things to bring up before we wrap up the daily recap. One is apparently there was an issue here where Mag, one of the players that's going to be attending the ESL Genting event, unfortunately he had he had an issue when he went to get on the plane, where he was told that he could not get on the plane. Of course, a player for Planet Dog. Apparently, the Planet Dog organization booked the tickets a month ago, and his name on the ticket was Mag Chipenko, which his actual first name is Andre, and then Chipenko's his last name. But whoever got him the ticket, so I don't know if this was Planet Dog or, I guess according to this it was Planet Dog organization, but they booked him as Mag Chipenko, and of course the airline was like, your name is not Mag, you cannot get on this flight. So I guess it caused some issue there. Now, there haven't been any updates since then if he's still going to be able to make it out there. I mean, the event itself, it doesn't start for it doesn't start until a day and a half now, so I don't know if they're going to be able to get that figured out, but Planet Dogs, we're still kind of in limbo right now in terms of hearing if he's going to be able to attend the event or not with the team, and we'll see where that puts Planet Dog if and so he is able to. But interesting update there, to say the least. And then one more update. I found this another kind of curious one. ESL announces INR1 Core Prize Pool for Premiership 2018. Essentially what this is an event in India that they are actually putting on. I guess they have done this in the past. They do it for multiple games, including CSGO as well as Clash Royale. But Dota 2 is going to be a part of that circuit there. It's going to be in Mumbai, it looks like, for the summer season, and then to be announced for later on. But it's always good to see more regions getting involved in esports in general, let alone competitive Dota 2. India specifically, a very massive population there in general as far as the world population goes. No doubt they do have the possibility of some legitimate players being from that region as a result. So I wouldn't be surprised if we perhaps start seeing some names and some opportunities pop up there. And it is good, again, to see that ESL is stepping into the region and giving them the opportunity. But, ladies and gentlemen, I think that is going to wrap it up for today's daily recap of what is January 21st, 2018. So, once again, hopefully you enjoyed it. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, as well as Twitch, all over the place, and I'll do my best to, again, keep this going here every single day with the daily recap. I know I picked up a little bit of steam recently, had a Reddit post on it, and it seemed like there's a lot of positive reaction, so definitely keeping me going. I'm also doing my best to try to get an audio-only version. Right now, I'm putting it on my Google Drive and then linking that in the YouTube video, as well as posting on social media. That doesn't track, unfortunately, how many people are listening to it and downloading it, etc. So ideally, I'm trying to find a way to make that happen, for the sake of just knowing my numbers and knowing what I'm dealing with the show. But overall, guys, again, hopefully you're enjoying it, and I'll see you guys next time. All right.